Hi, welcome to our channel, Programming of Mind, where we accelerate your knowledge with concise, from high-value book summaries. Let's begin stepping out of blame and into responsibility when conversations turn difficult. The first instinct many people have is to find someone to blame. It feels easier to point the finger than to reflect on our own part in the situation. But blame creates distance, it creates walls, it makes the other person defensive and shuts down any chance of real connection. The moment we say, "This is your fault," the other person stops listening and starts preparing their defense. What could have been a healing dialogue turns into a war of accusations in the search for blame. We forget that most conflicts are not caused by one person alone, but by a complex mix of actions, intentions, emotions, and circumstances. A young man named Omar had a falling out with his older brother after their father passed away. They were supposed to split responsibilities for handling the estate, but Omar felt like his brother took control and left him. Out, he was angry and hurt and wanted to confront him, but instead of starting with blame, he decided to ask himself, what part did I play in this? How might my brother see this differently? That shift in thinking allowed him to begin the conversation, not with accusations, but with curiosity. He said, "I felt left out, and I also realized I didn't speak up as clearly as I could. How can we talk about how this happened?" That one line opened the door for honesty and reconciliation. Taking responsibility does not mean taking all the blame. It means owning your piece of the puzzle. It means saying, "I see where I contributed to the problem," without letting yourself be walked over. It means standing in truth with strength, not with shame. When both people in a conversation can say, "Here's my part," something powerful happens. Defenses drop, walls crack, open hearts soften, and in that space, healing begins. There's a huge difference between blame and contribution. Blame asks, "Who caused this?" It focuses on punishment and shame. Contribution asks, "What did each of us do that led to this?" It focuses on understanding and solutions. Blame traps us in the past. Contribution points us toward the future. If a manager blames an employee for missing a deadline, they create fear and resentment. But if they ask, "What happened and how did we both play a role?" they create space for learning and growth. A manager named Sarah once had an employee who kept turning in work late. At first, she was furious, ready to issue a formal warning, but instead she called him in and asked, "Tell me what's been making it hard to stay on schedule." The employee opened up about feeling confused by her instructions and overwhelmed by the pace. They both realized that her communication style was part of the problem as much as his time management was. That moment of shared responsibility not only improved their working relationship, but also boosted team morale. It takes courage to own your part, especially when emotions run high. It feels risky. It feels like giving up control, but in truth, it is one of the most powerful moves you can make. It shows maturity, honesty, and emotional strength. When you step out of blame, you become the leader in the conversation. Regardless of your role or position, you create a space where the other person can do the same. There was a teacher named Leah who had a parent come to her angrily demanding answers about a bad grade. The parent was shouting, accusing her of being unfair. Instead of defending herself, Leah paused and said, "I hear your frustration, and I want to understand. Can we talk about what you're seeing? And also let me share how I approach this." That shift diffused attention. The parent felt heard. Leah also explained her side. And in the end, they found common ground because Leah refused to blame or escalate. She turned an angry confrontation into a respectful exchange. When you approach a difficult conversation with the mindset of contribution, you open yourself to growth. You begin to ask, "What can I learn from this? How can I show up differently next time? What needs to be said, not to win, but to understand?" You begin to build conversations that heal, not harm, that connect, not divide, that transform, not trap. The beauty of responsibility is that it frees you from waiting for others to change. You stop needing the other person to admit fault or fix things. First, you take the first step, not because you are weak, but because you are wise. And that first step can change the entire direction of the relationship. It creates a ripple effect that can turn silence into speech, distance into closeness, and blame into trust. The real strength lies not in proving someone else wrong, but in being brave enough to look at yourself with honesty and saying, "Yes, I see my part, and I am willing to learn and grow." That strength creates conversations that matter and relationships that last. Through responsibility, we discover not only how to speak, but how to live with more grace, more wisdom, and more love. Thank you for listening, and please like the video and subscribe for more great upcoming content that will put you in top 1% people in the world.